This is a nightmare. So this is the third time I'm filming this. So if I seem a little short or cross in the beginning, I apologize. I'm not a good camera editor, so I got to do the whole thing in one shoot. So what we're going to be talking about today is what I take with me the first time I go in the woods for the year to actually set my traps, and then what I take with me every time after that, right? So a caveat is I do more coyote and raccoon trapping than anything else by a mile. I don't really even set traps specifically for foxes. If I catch a fox in a coyote set and it's in a place where it's legal, I'll take it and keep it, of course. But I really only set for coyotes and raccoons. And really the only reason I set for raccoons is they're not hard to catch. I mean, they're about the easiest animals that I've found to trap. So it's not that much extra weight to put a couple of dog proofs in my pack when I'm going out for the first time. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, but this is just what I take, right? So if you're looking at getting into trapping, I think this video will be really helpful. If you're looking for how to do some sets, this one's not it. And I'm sorry, I want to try and keep this one focused on one thing, and we'll go into detail later. So again, what we're going to talk about first is what I take out in the woods when I go to set my traps. And it is and specifically for the first time of the year, because it is a completely different list of stuff than after that. So the first thing is obviously my stake driver, right? I got the super stake driver. I really like the super stakes because I like the T at the top. And that was one of the big reasons I did not want most of the wolf fang stuff I saw was I am accident prone. And I know for a fact, if I give myself the opportunity to hit my fingers, I will. So I don't want that. The next thing is this handy dandy all around trapper's hammer, right? So it's got the digging piece on the back, it's got the actual hammer, and it's got a hole digger for a dirt hole set. It doesn't work as well as an auger, but it's super, super handy in the event that you don't want to use your auger or you're in soft stuff. Definitely, they're like the same price or less as a regular trapper's hammer. This is definitely what I recommend. It's also solid. So then, I have a trapper's digging tool, right? Again, mine are metal. It's got a spade on one end and a hoe on the other, and it is all metal. And that goes in there every single time. You absolutely can use a hammer. You don't have to have that, but what I'm going to tell you is digging, if you decide to do a step down set or whatever with the spade, and then having like a larger hoe, 1,000 times easier than doing it with the trapper's hammer. You can, and I have, but just to make your life easier, I've always found it best to keep both of them. The next thing, of course, is an auger. Again, you can use the trapper's hammer that I have to dig your dirt holes or whatever. Auger just eats through dirt. It just works way, way, way faster, especially because where I trap is really, really, really rocky. So that is super helpful because it goes through the rocks a lot better than that spade does. And it'll even pull out the small rocks, whereas the shovel doesn't. The next thing that I always take with me the first time is a trap pan tensioner, especially because where I am, we have some pretty stringent requirements on pan tension, right? So the first time, you should op test your trap after I get them set. Before I cover them in dirt or whatever, I put the tensioner on it and I make sure that trap is good to go. The next thing I take with me is spare tags, right? And the wires for them. Obviously, this one's really ugly. It stays in my bait compartment on my trap bucket. But make sure that you have those, man, because there's nothing worse than lugging all that crap all the way out there. And it always happens on the last trap you pull out of the bucket, right? Like inevitably, your tag will have come off. I have some really nice PVC tags that I ordered that they go on, but I keep those for if those PVC tags come off because they're super easy. They add almost no weight. They just wire tie on, and you put your name on them and your trapper's ID number, your address, depending on state requirements, and then you just affix them. And they're good to go until you can come back and you can get a better option, because a lot of guys only use those, and it's legal and it's fine. I don't like them. They're hard to read. I don't do anything even remotely shady. I put my address on them because some of the other states I'm looking at trapping require your name and address. The state I'm in just requires your name, right? So I make sure that my address is on them. Everything's on them. Like I said, I do everything legally, so I'm not worried about it. If somebody finds one of my traps, I want it back, and that's why my address is on it. The next thing that I always take with me is my sifter, right? I got a metal sifter. I'm not a huge fan of the wooden ones. You can probably tell all my stuff in my trap pack is metal. And that's just because I think it holds up a little bit better. It bangs around in the back of the truck. And the metal stuff I've cracked before, specifically for the pan. Now, the aluminum stuff, you're going to bend it, you're going to dent it, you're going to ding it, and you're going to tear it up. It's just, they're not super durable, but they last longer than a lot of the wooden ones. The next thing that I always, no matter what, keep are these here stinky rubber gloves. I mean, they just live in the pack because that's what I use them for. They're what I use to set traps, to get bait out. Those are insulated. Most of the time it's cold. And when it's not cold, I only wear them when I'm handling my traps because I don't want any kind of contamination or anything. And really, I wear gauntlets just as much as I wear those, and my gauntlets go in the pack as well. It's just, I've been using them to dip some stuff lately. So then, I like these trap caps, and I use dirt over top of it. I don't put anything under mine. You know, a lot of people think that's crazy. They always put those, I don't even know what they're called, man, underneath it. But, you know, I haven't ever, and I've just had such good luck with it. I just really didn't see any point. I mean, it works great. And if it's working, I'm going to keep doing it. Next is, I keep my MB650 setters with me if I'm setting MB650s, right? And if not, I don't. It's pretty simple. I keep a little bit of paracord, right? It's just the stuff for duck decoys. Nothing crazy, nothing fancy, nothing special. The next thing, it's made its way out of there. But I keep a roll of trapper's wire, right? It's handy. And if you're not going to carry trapper's wire because it's heavy, some of these snare extensions, these 6-foot ones right here, are great. I got them off eBay, and they're like $4 to $6 a piece, or for 6 of them. Sorry, they're real cheap. And I use those things for everything. I mean, they work in a pinch to redo as an anchor line. If you're in a place where you're allowed to have things inside of a catch circle, right wherever your catch circle is, you can use them to secure a dog-proof trapping wire, right? Just really handy stuff to have around. You never know what you're going to use it for. Next is anytime I am ever messing with conibears, I have conibear safety. Not anything super fancy, not anything super expensive, but it works. It's important. Next is my dog proof setter. That literally lives in my bait box. Tail stripper. And J-hook pliers and spare J-hooks. So now we get on to the bait. So this started off as Deuce's Wild Smoked Wild Cherry DP Coon Bait. And then I used it all. And now it's the cheapest cat food I could possibly find. I just like the bottle. It's just convenient. I don't ever carry more than I need. The next thing is a roll of this flag tape. It's just handy, man. It really is. You never know when you're going to need it. You never know when you want to mark something, if you're allowed to mark the trailheads where you come in. Again, it's super handy. So right now I'm using Cavens because it's what I bought last year, and it's what's left over, and it's real ripe and real raunchy. After that, I got in with Dale Billingsley of Billingsley brand lures, and that's what I'll be using after I run out of all my Cavens. It's nothing against the Caven stuff. I had great luck. I just really support Dale's channel. His videos are awesome. He's like the nicest person I've ever had professional interaction with. And I want to support a local person that I've actually spoken to and met. If you message him on Facebook, you will actually get Dale Billingsley talking to you. So the next thing is my smoked wild cherry. That is actually smoked wild cherry. That's coon bait. I put it in there. I put it inside of the trap with the cat food. Sprinkle a little bit of the cat food around the trap. Next is coon and mink bait. This one's not opened. Again, I ordered it pretty close to the end of last year. I will be using it because I paid for it. It smells like crap, and so it works real good. More coon and mink bait. They had a sale on it, and I bought a ton of it. I mean, just an absolute ton of it. Here's my open container of coon and mink bait. It's real ripe, real raunchy. Like I said, it works well. So next I have a lure, a food lure, Canine Force by Cavens. Then I have a gland lure, which is Yodel Dog, is the one that I had a lot of good luck with this past year. And finally, I have Carmen's Special Coyote Gland, right? So what I like to do with all my Coyote sets is I do urine, which is over there. I got it from, I can't even remember. It's just the cheapest urine I could find online. I'm not even gonna lie. I just went to different websites and I got the cheapest 100% pure Coyote urine I could find. And then I also ordered the cheapest I could find that had antifreeze in it, because like I said, where I trap gets real cold. And it works, right? Yeah. And the next thing, and this is one of those you don't necessarily need it, but I strongly recommend it, is trail cams. You don't have to spend a ton of money on them. You've got to spend the most amount of money necessary to get decent trail cams. Sorry about the camera. Like I said, I'm literally packing my bucket to get ready for season coming up. And trail cams do something that you'll never be able to do off of just footprints. And that is, they 100% tell you exactly what that animal did around your trap. Footprints, you'll be able to come and you'll be able to see where they went, and you can get a general understanding of how long they were there. But it's not foolproof, right? Whereas the trail cams are. It is a video of what they're doing around your traps, how long they spend there, if they smell them, if they bail out, where they stepped, how they turned, how they acted. And since I started running trail cams specifically around my sets for coyotes, I use 3. I use a walkthrough, I use a dirt hole, and I use a step down. That's about it. My catch rate went up from, I'm going to say probably 10% to right now it's pretty close to 80%. 80% of animals that I get on a trail cam that are coming to investigate my traps, I get in the traps, which is pretty high, and I'm real proud of it. It's been a lot of work, but it's kind of one of those things, like I said, where I never would have done it had I not started putting trail cams out and watching what the animals are doing. And that's really the smoking gun. Like, that's the secret of you know, how I got good at coyote trapping, is trail cams. And there's just no way around it. I mean, you can watch all the videos in the entire world, but you're going to have to tweak your sets for your area, because animals are animals, right? They're going to act differently no matter where they go or what they do. One of the things that I didn't show, it's packaged up, I have it right behind me, is my wax dirt, right? So wax dirt I will use or transition to after it gets colder, because it's expensive. Regular dirt's free. And if you're doing a dirt hole step down, you get it when you dig the set. So I usually don't start using wax dirt until we have the first full day that's under 32 degrees, right? Because one of the other things I do is I sift my dirt real fine. I also drill a hole underneath my traps, right? So it's not super deep, but kind of think about it like how you drill a starter hole, or you drill a hole when you're making furniture. I do the same thing with the auger. That's why I like the auger. So I'll drill a 6-inch hole. My stakes are on a 30-inch line. So what I'll do is I'll drill 6 to 12-inch hole, depending on how far I can get. And then I put my actual stake right through that. And then that goes underneath my trap. And what that does is everything lays under the trap real good. The spring lays under the trap real good. The swivels lay under the trap real good. And it creates a large pocket for all the water that's being rained on, because traps get rained on. It's what they do, to drain underneath those traps. And it really helps them to not freeze. So I don't actually run wax dirt until after we have full days where it doesn't get above 32 degrees. And after we have like 24, 36 straight hours where it doesn't get below, I still usually don't switch over until we're starting to get a lot of precipitation or there's snow in the forecast. Unless I have a trap pop, or I have an animal catch it, or something walks through it or whatever, then I'll replace it with wax dirt. But generally speaking, if I do not mess with sets after I get them set. I walk up, I make sure that, you know, I'm legal, I'm following the law, I check my trail cams, and I leave it, you know, especially because with the hole underneath it, I had, I think, one trap not fire last year when an animal stepped on it. And I set that trap probably a month before. And the one day it didn't fire, it got down to like -12 with like 8 inches of snow on the ground. And that was the day it decided not to fire. Which, you know, whatever. Like it's part of it. The other thing is, even with wax dirt, you know, when it gets that cold, I don't think, you know, I can't say for sure that was a trap, because the snow compressing on top of it, you know, I mean, it had something to do with it. I'm not gonna lie, but I think it probably would have fired with wax dirt, but I wouldn't be willing to put money on it. You know, that's cold, and also too, that's snow that these, you know, it's just not. But wax dirt wouldn't have hurt, and it was in a step down set too, so everything just collected on it. And you know, after the snow melted, I went back, and that was when I messed with the trap, and it worked just fine. And it was still cold. It was like 5 or 6 when it did fire. So but you know, to each their own. Whatever you're gonna do, do your own research. Wax dirt's an awesome tool, but it's not an end all be all. One thing I will say is, if you're going to do like I do and you're not going to run wax dirt, I only run 4-coil traps. So I use MB550 rubber jaws. It's a personal thing, right? Whatever. I have really good luck with them, and I use a 4-coil. And what that does is I've found that they fire more often in bad weather, right? Again, might have a different experience. It's my experience. And it just works, man. You know, I do pretty well. And then for my dog proofs, I use these, they're called, I think, PCSs, and they're like $13.95 a piece on their website for a fully cast aluminum dog proof. It's pull only, which is, you know, you fail safe if you do that, because almost every state will allow you to use a pull only if they allow you to use dog proof. And man, they work great, and they're aluminum, so they don't rust. You don't have to worry about it. The springs are stainless steel. I did mine anyway, just because, not really any real reason. Didn't have any rust on them last year. And dude, they're awesome traps, especially for the money. I mean, like I have Z traps that I really like a lot, and they're almost twice as expensive. And you know, I don't know if they're a better trap. They're a push-pull, and they're really easy to transition back over into a pull only. And I use the FPs. Those are good traps too. I have a couple Dukes. They're okay, but I really like those PCSs. I mean, they're super simple, man. And the other thing, like I said, is I've got my dog proof setter that stays in there. And then I don't use a setter for 550s. I don't really use a cookie cutter. I just dig it out. But listen, I really hope this helps you. And then the things that don't stay in my pack when I go back out and I'm resetting them is really, it's sometimes I'll pull out the stake. And if I pull out the stake, I usually pull out the auger too. But the auger, if it's been really wet or raining, I do take with me, because a lot of times I re-punch out that hole underneath those traps, especially if something's been in it, cleared a real nice kill circle. I'll re-punch out that hole a little bit, or make a hole next to it, and then everything can lie in there, but it'll still have a drain hole. And that's super helpful for making sure those traps fire. Good luck, guys. I really hope this was helpful. One of the things I said, oh, in my trap basket, I got the fiberglass one with the bait box. Almost everything I have came from sterling fir. I really love that thing. And I really, really, really highly recommend it. It is awesome. So it all comes down to price, right? Like, how much are you going to spend? So there's a guy who makes my lanyards for me that have everything built into them with a shock spring and swivels. And I don't pay a whole lot. I think I pay like 60 bucks for a dozen of them, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but they're super easy to swap and they work great. And they're on super stakes, which is what I like. And then, so it's usually about $65. And then a dozen MB 550 4-coil rubber jaws from sterling fir, I think is $221 plus shipping. The trap box is about 70 to 80 bucks depending on where you go, what time of the year it is. And then each one of the digging tools is about $20, $20 to $30. So that's another $120. So it's $200, $400, $440, $500. And then all your miscellaneous baits and lures. Again, don't go crazy with your raccoon stuff. Sardines and cat food. Literally, that's it, man. That wild cherry stuff is okay. It works all right. It's not the best thing I've ever used. It brings them in okay. Not any better than sardines. And putting the sardine juice over the cat food and around it and dropping a sardine underneath that trip lever. With mini marshmallows. I'm telling you, I wish I was kidding. I use King Oscar brand sardines in oil, not water, in olive oil, the smoked. I put about a half a sardine and 1 or 2 little baby marshmallows underneath the trip lever, set the trap, sprinkle a little bit of cat food in, and take about a half of a handful, sprinkle it around the trap, and I dump the rest of the oil around the trap. And it just works, and it's not super expensive. You don't really need any specialty bait. I wish I would have learned that before. I spent a lot of money on bait when I first got into it. And then, like I said, hit up Dale Billingsley. And literally, all I'm going to tell you to do is, one, I get the cheapest 100% coyote urine I can buy on the internet. And then I reached out to Dale Billingsley, and I said, hey, man, what do you recommend for this geographic area and this target species of animal? He gave me his recommendations, and he sent it. I paid him, he sent it, got it really quick. It was absolutely awesome. And that's all I did. I think I have the Wolfer's Choice is what he recommended. It's got skunk meat in it. It's real ripe. It's going to work great for where I am. And that's about it. I mean, like I said, you're looking at... if you're smart, you don't go over the top, and you already have a drill that'll work for the auger, you're looking at about $600 to $650 to get started with coyotes. And then another, if you're somewhere you can have stuff in the catch circle, another $15 per foot per dog proof to have a PCS set up. And if you're not, that number goes up a little bit. It goes up about $17. What I would recommend for somebody just getting started are a half dozen MB 550 4-coil rubber jaws, right? I like the rubber jaws, or 650s, rubber jaws. If you get the 650s, I would recommend buying a setter. They're pretty stout. If you go with the 550s, works great for coyotes. So I'd get a half dozen of those. That should cost you around $120 to $150 shipped. Again, I buy all my stuff from sterling fir if I can't find it used, and I can't find it used. So I get it all from sterling fir and Wildlife Control Supplies, like the second cheapest place that I've found. And then I would go with up to a half dozen dog proofs, depending on how many raccoons you want to catch. I'm going to be honest, if your placement is good, I had out last year about 12 dog proofs, and I think like really 3 of them were the most productive. And then when I say that, I mean it was rare that one of those 3 traps didn't have a coon in it every day. I mean, just so your placement and finding a good water source. That's where those three were. One was right off a really good water source, and one was off of a pond, really good water source, and the third one was right off of a cornfield. And they both, those three caught more than the rest of them combined. And then the same way with the footholds, right? I put out a dozen of them. I had 2 that were like the routine catch ones, and then I had 2 more that caught dogs. 8 of them didn't catch anything all year. But like I said, the ones that were really good had stuff in them regularly. About every other day there was a coyote in one of them. So, you know, it's some, but obviously the more traps you put out and the more areas you go, the better. And then the other thing is set on sign for coyotes, right? Walk through the woods, look for poop, look for scratchings. If you know deer are passing through an area, coyotes are passing through that area too. Set on sign. Be responsible, right? Don't set somewhere where somebody's poor dog is going to get caught or be ridiculous. Other than that, really, I hope you the best of luck, and I hope this video was helpful. Thanks.